right. Well, welcome back to the So There I Was podcast. I'm your host, Travis Womack. Today we have Vince Fowler, former Canadian Paratrooper. That's the shortest version of introduction I'm ever going to give, because I'm sure it's much longer than that. And I'm going to get all the units and stuff wrong. So I'll allow you to do that, Vince. Kind of an awesome thing again about how LinkedIn is just a never ending trail of connections. I did a podcast with a friend of Vince's, Joss, a while back, and then posted that and said, "Hey man, I got to tell my story too." So here we are. I'm looking forward to it. And anytime you get two paratroopers in one room, it's chaos is going to happen. So welcome, and glad you're here.
Thanks very much, man. It's an absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. The official unit, Canadian Airborne Regiment, subunit 2 Commando. And we all come from somewhere. So my parent unit would have been Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry, originally starting with the 2nd Battalion. And then after the Airborne Regiment was disbanded, boo, hiss, I went off to the 3rd Battalion, PPCLI, and finished off there with the Parachute Company. So started airborne, finished airborne. Yeah, good times under canopy. So yeah.
It's great. So we talked on the phone a couple of weeks ago, and I told you that kind of one of my, the fun part of being in the airborne community is the pursuit of foreign countries' wings. And I was like, man, if there's one that's like in the American Army, at least for my friends and stuff, was if you get your hands on Canadian wings. But y'all don't do like the country jumps. You have to go to the Canadian school. Is that correct still, or was it when you were there?
In part. So we do, we have, we call them Menton days. I think it's Menton, Montana or something. Anyways, Menton days would be hosted by the Airborne Regiment, and a bunch of foreign jumpers would come in from wherever, United States, Germany, and so on. And they would get a series of jumps over the course of 3-4 days. And it'd just be one giant jump fest. I think in the United States, you have Leap Fest.
Yeah.
So it was our version of that. And at the end of that, so there'll be some ground stage, of course. How do we do it? Our JMs, our aircraft, our aircraft drills and such. Our landing, especially our exit drills, very different than your exit drills.
Yeah.
And specifically, when the jumper hands the static line, it's not a hand. We whip it. We don't just politely pass it to the jump master. It's a very intentional forced throw, and then we exit the aircraft. So
interesting.
At the end of that, there'll be a wings presentation for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's rare. It's rare that you just do one jump with us and get your wings, I bet. Yeah. Now I left the military in 96, so maybe things are different. But back then, someone would participate in either the jump school, or they'd participate in this annual jump fest experience during Menton days, and definitely go home with a set of Canadian wings. You get not cherry wings. Let me rephrase it. You get red wings. So wings, as in, the maple leaf is red versus white. White is operational wings, and red is your certified Canadian jump qualified.
Right.
Yep. So
that's like the backing on ours, where you have wings when you've been to school, but if you have the oval backing, means you're in an active unit. So.
Oh, is that what that means? I never knew.
Yeah.
So if you just have the wings alone,
means you're certified, but you're not in an active jump status. But if you have the backing, means you're in a unit currently that is actively jumps. So if you leave that unit, do you lose that backing as well? Do you have to remove the backing? Take the backing off, because you're no longer. It's just one of those.
Got it.
Like when I was in 325 at Bragg, or now Fort Liberty, it was blue border with a white center. It's for the 325th Regiment. So.
That's what I remember. I remember blue, but I didn't realize the correlation between the backing and no backing. Yeah, that makes sense. That's good to know. It's nice to know with the person you're looking at.
Yeah, the American Army is at least the airborne for sure, is like you can look at a beret or the backing and immediately know exactly what unit they're in, like instantly, because all the berets are red, obviously, but the shield, the crest on it is like blue and white. Is 325th or 2nd Brigade now, and then there's like the 504th is a blue and yellow, and then the Devil Dogs is the Panthers is, I should probably know this color. Nobody ever talked to the Panther Brigade. They were not very nice to us. We always stole their little like statue of Panther, and we always got in trouble for it. So, but you mentioned something though on our phone call about jumping into Holland drop zone on then Fort
Yes.
Bragg, and if you're from Fort Bragg ever and been there, stationed there, you hear stories about the green ramp accident. I would love to hear kind of what all, because that's during your time, and kind of what your experience was.
Yeah. Yeah. So my unit, 2 Commando specifically, the rest of the regiment stayed home, but 2 Commando went down, and we spent a month with the 325. And I think over the course of our time there, we did 3 jumps for sure. There might have been a 4th, but on this particular one, it was we were scheduled, and we had there was a particular delay, so we got delayed by a day. So stopped, dropped 24 hours off, and then we show up at Green Ramp. We get all dressed. This is like I'm thinking this was our 2nd jump, maybe 3rd, and it was all tied into, every single jump was all related to a particular exercise. The length would vary, but on this particular exercise, we dress at Green Ramp. We sit around, and there's all these aircraft all lined up for us, and there was probably 12, 13 aircraft. There was quite a few, because there was us, our unit, there was members of the 325. We do what we do, you get on, you get in the aircraft, and away you go. And we jump in at midnight-ish, something. It was dark when we exited the aircraft. I remember Holland was on fire. There was a grass fire, and Francis McGilvery, it's probably set off by a paraflare or something. Artillery was, I don't know, there was some simulation. So at any rate, I remember 2 guys in our unit, their parachute caught fire when it hit the ground. They cut and released quickly. One of the guys, either Frank or Francis, their rucksack got lit up on fire. So they're out all they have is the rifle and whatever they got on them. And they rescue as much stuff as they possible. We do, everything's training ammo, miles gear. And we do this recon. We get to where we're supposed to be, all night long recon. We get to where we're supposed to be. We kind of chill out in this very soggy, wet spot with eyes on, not very far, but eyes on a Fibua site. And so just before daybreak, we assault this Fibua site. We get into all this Fibua warfare stuff. Tons of fun, because you guys really do it up. You have these proper Fibua sites built up. Super fun, night vision, like I said, miles gear and everything. And everything's awesome. So that ends. So now it's full on daytime the next day. We do a live fire shoot later on with some guys from the 325. So that was a ton of fun. We were in love with the amount of ammo you guys bring to live fire shoots.
Oh yeah. Well,
and it was really interesting, because, they were all done on, I think, section size or platoon size. Shocking how vague this is to me all of a sudden. But we remember, because it's set up so there's a bit of a advance towards contact, right? And all of a sudden you hear a few rounds fly, and we were thinking, is that us or is that 325? And another crew would go, and there was a little bit of erupt, and then all of a sudden the next crew goes, and we knew for sure the next crew was our guys, and it was like 3 times the ammo just lighting up on this live fire shoot. And we started to laugh, because when we get ammo, like unlimited ammo, essentially, this was so much fun for us to let loose on all this. And our first rule of contact is to win the firefight. And it's just lay down as much suppressing fire as possible to just say, hey, we're here in charge. Naturally, in a real life situation, you only have frontline ammo, and we probably blew it all and then some. Anyways, tons of fun, lots of laughs. If you weren't on the firing line, you're doing your job, and you're just laying back, eating cake, whatever. So this all ends, and our commanding officer, he comes over, Major Hammond, and he becomes a much more important guy than he is already later in the world. But he just says, "All right, troops, it's time to earn the purple hat." And we're like, "What does that mean?" We don't really like his humor a whole lot. As much as we like him, we don't like his humor. Which means it's time to earn the maroon beret, and it's 35 miles back to barracks. And he goes, "All right, ruck up." And we're like, "Holy shit, is he serious?" Like, even for us, this was a bit but we're in the presence of our American counterparts and we want to put on a show. Okay. So in other words, it's a dick measuring contest.
For both sides.
So, we start rucking back, and in the process of rucking back to the shacks, which ended around midnight, I remember it taking roughly 7 hours to get home. At any rate, we remember seeing this big, giant black plume of smoke, just this constant stream of black smoke going up and up and up. And we thought nothing of it. Nothing of it. We just figured someone was burning garbage. We had no clue. And when we finally arrived on base, nothing seemed out of the ordinary because, of course, Green Ramp is nowhere near the 325 barracks.
Yeah, opposite side.
And we just thought nothing of it. And then we found out, I think the very next morning, what had happened. And the story we heard, and which I still believe is accurate, is an F-16 had a midair bump into a C-130. So the C-130 landed okay, but the F-16 came in. The pilot ejected, and the F-16 hit Green Ramp tarmac and just went through some of these C-130s, C-131s at Green Ramp, just started ripping them to shreds. And anybody with a car or an armored vehicle was starting to bus bodies and casualties to hospital, and became the Green Ramp disaster. Yeah, nice. So again, as naive as we are, we don't even phone home about this. We don't think that, obviously this is 94, so right. This is well before social media.
Card for that.
And we say nothing. Well, little did we know it made the 6 o'clock news back in Canada. And so because none of us phoned our parent, we didn't phone our parents, we didn't phone our spouses, people back home thought we were at Green Ramp. And if there was another weather delay, we would have been.
Wow.
And that's how we dodged that bullet just because we had good weather. Because it was crazy. 100%. If there's a weather delay, this exercise will be rescheduled to tomorrow. Same time, same channel. That would have been us.
That's crazy. So they obviously completely rebuilt Green Ramp. When I was there, it was like it's the facilities are phenomenal for airborne operations. I mean, you can load up tons and tons of people.
Yeah.
On the wooden benches and stuff. But they there was one picture. It's like a poster sized picture, and it's kind of like a semi memorial. There's an actual memorial for it. On what used to be that was Pope Air Base, and now it's Pope Army Airfield.
Yep.
It's no longer Air Force ownership. Okay. And they that picture has like, it's kind of what you have behind you. Is that a Dietz painting behind you? That aircraft?
It's a C-130. It's a old airfield in Edmonton, which is where the Airborne used to fly out of.
Okay. Yeah, because there's a I think it's Carl Dietz. He does a lot of pencil paintings, and they're really phenomenal. But it wasn't one of his, but it was very similar to that. And he it was whoever did it was a kind of their depiction of the chaos of that day. And I was like, I remember being a young private, young specialist, and being like, oh man, that would have been an awful. Like I couldn't even imagine like having to go through that if I was one of those guys. And then later on I became an officer, and I'm like, I would have hated to do that investigation. Oh my God. So many sworn statements to fill out.
It would have been it would have been massively catastrophic. Well, the event itself is obviously catastrophic. Yeah. You have all these aircraft loaded with people, full fuel.
Yeah.
And, burning jet fuel, and lots of it doesn't go anywhere fast, right? Yeah. So anybody caught in that is just a horrible way to go.
I can't see it.
And it's just devastating. We were so naive. We just didn't think anything of it. We had no idea this made the 6 o'clock news.
Yeah. Were you married by then?
And I was.
Yeah. And
that was one person that was worried. Like I think I phoned 2-3 days later, just a normal check-in. And I caught shit. She gave me hell for not
sick about you.
Yeah, like what do you mean? We were just like had no idea.
Wow, that is crazy.
So news didn't travel as fast as it does today. And so it was like, there's a Canadian unit down there. They're training at this base. There's no information if they were involved, but they are blah, blah, blah. And again, like
obviously your wife knows
the bag. Yeah. Yeah. So
that's crazy.
If it was today, we'd like mark ourselves safe on Facebook. Vince's marked safe from Green Ramp disaster would have been
check in
today, right? But I would text right away, hey.
Yeah.
But just clueless. But apart from that tragedy, man, were we so well taken care of by the 325. We did multiple exercises together. I think every drop zone was Holland. What was fascinating to us is we call them gut trucks. So food trucks, modern day food trucks. Gut trucks are the gut wagon. They'd be pre-positioned on the side of a drop zone. Like literally we would walk over to the gut truck, buy snacks, and then carry on with the operation, which was foreign to us. Thought that was pretty cool.
I gotta jump in a pack
The
of
mess
Skittles.
halls were great. Mess halls were funny because in Canada there is unlimited food. Nothing is weighed, nothing is measured. You go take it, you eat it, take your tray to the kitchen, to the drop off, and you're gold. Yeah, but I remembered because I remember asking for some rice and mashed potatoes, and she just looked at me like only one starch, and I remember saying, "What's a starch?" So
what are you talking about?
We were shocked. We were shocked by all that, but food was great and mess halls are fun. And I think you guys had ice cream or something, but like, it was good. Barracks were different. But because of Canadian, border crossing issues, we didn't bring any firearms with us. So we just signed all of our firearms came out of your weapon stores. So I had at the time it was still the M60 machine gun. That was my weapon. Other guys were getting, basically M4s with M203 grenade launchers mounted underneath. And they were just like, we don't have this kind of kit. So we were in heaven. Awesome. Plus all of us were issued night vision for the operation, which was, we might have a piece of kit for one section, the same as a squad. So we were just this unlimited amount of ammo and kit. It was just, it was just heaven.
That's awesome. So that was 94. Yeah. That would have been probably PVS 7 Bravos or Deltas. Because that's the two eyes that came to war.
Oh, sevens.
Sevens, yeah.
Yeah. 7.
Yeah, those are brutal.
Yeah, they were still better than what we were using.
Oh, in 94, it's probably amazing. They were a generation better than ours, and they were so clear. I'm like, whoa, how come we don't have this stuff? Like, we still had, at that time, you had Kevlar helmets, and we were using Vietnam era. I think Canadian government went to the United States military surplus and said, you got any of those steel pots left over from Vietnam or World War II? We'll buy whatever you got, because you'd already moved on to Kevlar. That's crazy.
So
yeah, the old Darth helmet. When I was in Air Force school, I was a private, and so they didn't have a large. I have a 7 7/8 head. It's massive,
Me too.
And so I get there, like, oh, we're out of larges. Give them an extra large. So they gave me this helmet. I had the maximum amount of space you could have from your ears to the Kevlar. It was like 2 inches. I had these big old. I mean, they're like, so all my friends called me the Lord Helmet from Spaceballs. I was like, thanks, guys. Y'all are jerks.
Oh, man.
Not my choice. My
nickname was Head and a Half. And because it was a 7 7/8 head. Yeah. And to look at me, everything looks in proper proportion, but there's some depth. From forehead to the back of head, there's a little bit of extra length there. So that's where, anyway. I still have my jump helmet, actually. Yeah, there it is, sitting behind me. That helmet jumped into Fort Bragg, Fort Liberty.
All I see is a leather sweatband. My head hurts just seeing that. So I always joke that I don't have a 4 head, I have a 5 head. So that's my big.
That's right. Joke. We would say glacis plate. You got a proper glacis plate up front.
So. That's crazy. Yeah. I can't believe that. I've always wondered.
You'll be pointing, and all the rockets will deflect off your head.
when you live in the airborne community, like you hear about certain things, a little bit about some stuff, and like I know the greatest thing about the American part of it is when we started jumping in the 40s, or actually late 30s officially, but and you talk to like a World War II guy who jumped into Normandy or whatever, it's awesome because like there's this immediate understanding of we do it differently ish, but it's still the same concept, and it's still like the same crazy idea of like, all right, so we're gonna tie a string to your parachute and hook it to the aircraft. You have to put the baseline of what we're doing is a lot can go wrong here, but it can be fun. So